welcome everybody. It is Monday after the FFL National Convention, and if you went there and you're not fired up, then you should check your pulse, because that was absolutely an amazing event. It really was. And for me, this is my third convention. This was by far and away the best convention we've ever had, from the keynote speakers to everybody that poured their heart out on stage. It was really a well-oiled machine. It was awesome. It was awesome to see all you guys on here, my colleagues, those being celebrated, and the ones that are, maybe reinvigorated to really share this opportunity more than ever. I've got a awesome guy on right now, a buddy of mine, Clint Olson, and he is a Hall of Fame producer, which, if you don't know, that's protecting 400 families in a year. It's a lot of families and a lot of hard work that goes into that. So what he's going to do is share, what he has done to be successful here at Family First Life. So welcome, Clint. Thanks for joining us now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about this, and hopefully some people can get some information out of this.
Yeah, if you could share, I could talk. I have pages and pages and pages of notes that I took from convention, but what were a couple big takeaways? A couple, maybe speakers or whatever that spoke to your heart?
I think Dave Anderson was the best speaker there, honestly, and he's going to work with FFL. But honestly, I just had a chat with Zach Twardowski here, and he kind of asked me the same question. And I would say the biggest takeaway, as far as what I got out of it, is this business could be very lonely, right? Unless even if you have an office, it can be very lonely. You're out in the field 12 hours a day, seeing a bunch of people, whether it's a good or a bad day, you're still just by yourself. And there's a lot of things that can arise like throughout the year or intermittently, to where you feel like you're failing, right? And it's okay, right? I think failing is the key to being successful. But one of the things that I realized is every single person who spoke at the conference talked about their past struggles and what they had to do to overcome those struggles, right? Pretty much all the struggles are the same as everyone else. I think it's very easy that new agents, they feel like the world is coming down on them sometimes, and they think it's just so individualized to them that no one else has gone through it. But that's the worst thing you can think, because literally everyone has gone through those struggles. And what they did is they explained how they surpassed and overcame those struggles and became better at the other end of it, right? It's almost crazy how whether you're kind of an integrity partner or just a producer by yourself, how we all have the same ups and downs, and right, and like what you do to overcome those and become just stronger and better as a person, as a producer, as a father, whatever it may be, right? That was probably the biggest one. And then probably the second one is being able to check your ego at the door. Because it's very, very, very easy to have an ego. Was it Sean Mike said you can have a big business or a big ego? Wait, yeah, is that what he said? You can have
you can have a big business or a big. You can't have both.
Yeah, you can't have both, right? And that was pretty big for me. But going off Dave Anderson, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? You talked about on the meeting, right? Do you make your bed in the morning, right? Set your standards higher, right? Be very intentional from your day to day, not only FFL, but in your life, to just become better every single day, and don't try to cut corners ultimately. That was huge.
And if you open up the chat, guys, I posted his 14 points. That was the foundation of his speech. And if you can get your hands on this book right here, it's called Intentional Mindset, and it's from Dave Anderson. And I had mentioned this also, Sean Mike doesn't recommend too many books other than the good book. But this one, when it came out last year, he said this one everybody should have. It's called Intentional Mindset. You can get it on Amazon. Dave Anderson, and he actually endorses it. Sean Mike on the back. So he talks to him. There aren't too many people that, you know, I don't want to say that Sean will he takes advice from a lot of people that are, you know, at where he wants to be, as we all should. But, you know, he also says there are a lot of books that are just like, it's a bunch of nonsense. There's nothing like hard work and experience as a teacher. But this book is one of those that if you grab a hold of that, copy that.
I was, while during his speech, I bought his book on Amazon. It's via transit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did.
Right now.
I think Amazon was trending. Amazon was trending for intentional mindset for sure. But, you know, here's the thing is like, you know, like none of us are making money off this book. It's all to get your mind right. This is it's such a huge 80% psychology, having success in this business, whether you're a manager, whether you're, you know, trying to protect families. And like you said, Clint, you know, it can get lonely out there. And, you know, when you have your mind set right and you're doing all these little things that he talks about, like making your bed, like checking your card. One of the things, as a real quick tip, and I'm going to let you talk about strategies and takeaways, is when he's doing an interview, and I've heard this from Tony Robbins also, when he's doing an interview on someone, he has them, he takes their car keys or has them walk them out to their car so that he can look at how their car is kept, you know, their trunk. And started thinking, oh man, you know, he wouldn't hire me. He wouldn't hire me because sometimes I'm just on the road and I throw stuff in the back seat or whatever it is. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. And just to take that extra minute, or it's not even whatever, a minute to take the trash out of your car to organize things, it really does flow into every other part of your life. And, you know, let's bring it on to you, Clint, because obviously you're doing something right. You're a Hall of Fame producer. Tell us first off where you're out of, what your producer level is, and how long you've been with us.
I'm out of Denver, Colorado. I've been with FFL since September 2019. Producer level.
What's the most you ever? How many families in a month have you protected?
Well, 500 families, 510 families last month or last year. And the funny thing is I think it's always good to set goals. If you don't set goals in your life, or it's specifically this business, I mean, what are you trying to achieve, right? How can you? What stepping stone do you need to get to? If you're just kind of going day by day, as far as not really thinking about, oh, I want to help 200 families in a month or in a year, like what is it? What is that goal that you have? And last year, 2020, I missed that goal by Hall of Fame by 12 families, right? And you remember when I was on stage and I it wasn't a bet, but I bet myself that I would hit Hall of Fame by September, right? That was my goal. And guess what? I remember I texted Nick at the end of September. I said, hey, I hit Hall of Fame, right? Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of spiraled out and into more beyond that. But I truly think that it has everything to do with the people that you surround yourself with. I mean, I can come from personal experience the last few months as far as you can be in a very negative mindset, right? And you can dwell on that negative mindset and don't think of take all the negativity, don't take any positivity, and then you can talk to another person who's in a positive mindset or in a position where you want to be in, and it can completely change your entire mentality. That's just not this business. That's this life, right? Because I used to be that producer. I'm sure you remember that call with Blake, that three-way call, right?
Well, oh my God. Yes, I do. I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. I called Blake. I'm like, I quit. He's like, hold on. I can't help you, but Chris can. Right. And you guys get on a three-way call, and within like literally 15 minutes, my entire mentality changes. But if I didn't reach out to Blake initially, right, I would have dwelled in that negative mindset consistently. And who knows, I probably would have quit. Right. But having that conversation with you completely put a different aspect as far as what I was capable of doing, and it just propelled me, right? And that's one thing that I've learned specifically in the last probably 6-8 months to really lean on that. FFL just has so many people that you're willing to just reach out to and just have a 10-15 minute call, and it'll change your entire day just mentally, because I think 100% of this business is mentality.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a
Yeah,
bad
you're right.
mentality going to a house, they're gonna sniff it. If you have a bad mentality on the phone, right?
It reminds me of what Austin Hatch said on stage. That was absolutely amazing. But he said you can't be grateful and negative at the same time. So next time you're feeling down, then you need to really focus on some of the things in life that you are grateful for. And it doesn't matter who you are, there's something that you're grateful for. You know, it could be your family, it could be your pet, it could be you have a roof over your head. But Clint, to your point, to hear all the people on stage that went through so many hardships, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, the loss of a loved one that was a huge influence in their life. We all have a story. And, you know, I felt, you know, like I could have been on stage sharing my story. You, I'm sure, felt you could have been on stage sharing your story. We're all one. We all go through the same thing. So yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this. I have a text from you January, and you told me what you did for last January of 2021 on your road to Hall of Fame. And you protected like 65 families that month. And that was the most you ever did. It was like you went into full on beast mode. And I know exactly what you did without even asking you, dude, because I've been doing this long enough. I 100% know you bought more leads and you booked more appointments. That's it. So let's talk about that. So people are not, you know, delusional to think that you've got some special sauce and some, you know, magic hypnosis techniques that you have to protect families. Let's talk about what you do for leads. What your lead sources are, and what an actual day in the life of a Hall of Fame producer looks like, so that these people can take that information and turn it into a red jacket for them.
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. It takes money to make money, right? It doesn't matter what business you're in, right? It takes more leads to protect more families, right? To kind of give you an idea, I sat down with my accountant, and in 2020, I spent about $105,000 on leads, right? But I was able to maybe triple that investment, right? And I sat down with them 2022 or 2021. I spent $135,000, and I 4x'd my investment, right? And I think for anyone that's new, or not even like new, just like seasoned, there's a straight correlation when you look at anyone that's a relatively top producer who helps the most families per year. They are spending more money on leads, right? I'm not trying to pick and grind 50 leads when I really should have 150. Right. As far as the leads that I use, I mean, I've been in the trenches since the very beginning. I know what it's like to run CRM, internet leads, right? I know what it's like to do Facebook final expense. I know what it's like to do BPL. I know what it's like to drop mail under my own, right? And I think it's very important to understand that every aspect of this business is stepping stones, right? You're no one's going to go straight from CRM leads to dropping their own mail with the lead company, right? And if you don't know what that means, it just means I'm working with another company and I'm specifically picking out zip codes around the country, and I am dropping my own mail, right? But it took me 2 years to get to that point. But as far as 2021 went, I did primarily, I would say about 40% final expense mailers, and about 60% mortgage mailers, right? And there's a big difference between those types of leads, right? You have to go in with the right expectations. I mean, if you look at internet leads, I mean, if you want to book 15 appointments, I mean, look at it as 10%, right? You're going to book 10% of whatever you buy. So if you buy 80 leads, you're probably going to book eight appointments. If you want 16 leads, you should probably buy, or 16 appointments, you should buy 160, right? It's just a kind of a balance. And I explain this to agents all the time. It's like, well, it costs more money. Well, coming from somebody like myself, who's literally tried everything, if I buy a certain amount of CRM leads and a certain amount of, let's say CRM leads that are $11 a piece, I need 150 of them, but then I buy 25 mortgage leads and they're $75, $80 a piece, they equal the same amount, right? I'm still getting the same result. I'm still looking for 15 appointments, right? Same thing with Facebook final expense. I would buy 60, it still cost me $1,400-1,500, right? The same amount as 25 mortgage leads. So if somebody, if they want to do $40,000 a month, there's no way, and if you can, please enlighten me, that you're going to not be able to do it with less than $2,000 a week, right? No matter what it is, internet leads, Facebook leads, or direct mail leads, right? Did I answer your question correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, 40 to 50 families a week is like, or a month is like averaging 10 families a week. That's going to get you into the Hall of Fame. It's going to mean, and all Hall of Fame is, so just so y'all know, it just means serving more people. That's it. It's a mark of your success and your hard work and your commitment to protecting families. One of the things that, resonated with me is like service to others. If you put that first, you put the people first, then everything else will take care of itself. You won't worry financially. You will not worry financially. I've had plenty of, when I came into FFL, I needed to get out of a hole of a massive amount of debt. And when I started focusing on protecting families, that someone says something to me, it's a lead is a family, it's a person. And so it was like, if you think about it, like this person actually, and we all know this, I hope, but if you think about it as a person filled this out, because the thing that I think about in a home is the sons, the daughters, the grandchildren, all the people that we write in the beneficiary column on the application. Those people are going to lose their loved ones one day. And because of the work that we do, it's, they're going to have heartbreak, they're going to have sorrow, they're going to have loss. But if we can take a little bit of that sting off, at least the financial sting, and make it just a little bit more bearable, it's like, you don't want to, we have the ability to really impart some sort of peace with someone in the toughest time of their life, when they lose someone. And so that for me is fulfilling. And as I mentioned before, success without fulfillment is completely empty. So focusing on families is everything. So let's talk about.
Actually, I wanted to kind of add something to that. It's pretty, it's kind of hits the nail on the head as far as like when you go inside a house, and that's why I don't consider myself a salesman. I'm not selling anyone anything. And when you go into a house, and I used to be like, this is new. I used to sit there and try to convince somebody on why they needed a certain type of coverage, right? But now I've switched it to where I'm not thinking about my own pocket, right? Because if they want it, they want it, great. If they don't, great, fine, right? But when you actually go into an appointment and start asking the hard questions as far as who it's for, why they want it for them, and start getting them a little bit of emotions, bring back those emotions that they're really looking, they felt when they fill out the form. That's when they're telling you what you want. And that's when it turns into me, okay, they need this. Okay, this is the best product for you, right? Saying, no, not you have to have this because of X, Y, Z. No, you should have this because you mentioned X, Y, Z. And it completely changes the attitude or the atmosphere inside an appointment, right? If you truly care and ask genuine questions, right? That is huge. And I know it's easier said than done because it took me a while, but for anyone, if you can just go in and just say, hey, I'm just going to go in and genuinely ask what their biggest concerns and fears are and how can I help them, right? You're not going to help everyone. It's just not possible, right? I hit Hall of Fame on 35%. I was talking to a few agents at convention. He's like, what's your closing percentage? I was like, probably like 35% out of all the appointments booked. I told him, I was like, I fail 65% of the time. That means I hear 2 no's for every yes, right? But I hit Hall of Fame. But that's
I
because I
love
would
that.
consistently book 30, 35 appointments every single week in, week out, not take time off, really put myself in a situation. And I hit Hall of Fame with an F, like an F minus minus, right? Like failed, out of college, done.
Yeah.
Right.
The reality is, like, those statistics will get you into the Baseball Hall of Fame. If your batting average was 350, dude, you're in the Hall of Fame, and yeah, that's a really good batting average. And I want to also talk to some of the agents that may be on here saying, well, like, I did the math on that. You spent $11,000. This is the average, $11,250 that you spent last year on leads. And a new agent coming on might be like, well, how the heck am I going to do that? It's about getting resourceful. You're not going to spend that kind of money right off the bat. I always call it like using house money. But what I did, I was deep in the hole, way deep in the hole. But somehow, with all the credit card debt that I had $600 left on one of these credit cards, because lenders are dumb and they give me money, right? Why did they do that? I don't know. But I put $600 on my first Facebook final expense lead because it was 2018, and that's what we had. We didn't have all the CRM leads like people have it now. So I did that, and I turned that into, families protected, money deposited in my bank account, and reinvesting, living lean, not balling. I'm balling. I made a couple, got a couple families protected. So now I'm going to go out and get myself, a nice watch or something. Like, no, I actually reinvested into the business, which you all should too, because that's money you didn't have days ago, that you were poor and you still had debt and your credit still sucked. So don't worry about that. I love what Sean Mike said at the convention. He's like, leave your problems in the car. Okay. You're going to go into an appointment, and when you come back, I promise problems are going to be there, right? Leave your debt alone. Buy leads, reinvest so that you can protect families. There's going to be a time where you build up your business bank account. You can start bringing that debt down. But don't take all that money and then just pour it down on your debt right now. No, you're running a business here. All right. Yeah. And so reinvesting is everything. And then you can my goal was to get to spending as much as the top 20 agents in the country as quickly as possible. So I knew that if I did that and did everything that they did, that I wouldn't have to, worry about my finances, and that I could hit Hall of Fame, which I didn't hit my very my first full year. I did hit it, but it was a little bit of a learning process, but I reinvested and got better. You get better by sitting more appointments.
Yeah. Period. Don't get me wrong, Chris. I did not start with $11,000 a month in leads.
Oh, we know. I know you didn't.
I started with like $600, and I put all my chips on the table, and I said, let's go. That's the one thing that I'm not afraid to bet on myself. Right. But also at the same time, like I've never been one to just splurge money. Like I lived like I was poor for like 6-8 months. And I still honestly live like I'm kind of poor. Right. I don't just go out and buy a bunch of stuff. Right. Because I worked hard for that money. Right. I know I can obviously get it back. That's the great thing about this industry, is you could go out and make $5,000 in a day. But also at the same time, people do make that mistake, like I did. I won't go into the story, like when I took that vacation after 3 months and knocked myself out of the business, right? You have to not be afraid to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave my ego to the side, right? I'm going to ask for help, right? Because Chris, I'm like where I'm at because of you. Like, you're a huge inspiration to me, is like, because you were killing it when I started. I called you all the time, right?
Yeah.
And all I did was say, hey, like, what do I do in this situation, right? And you're eager to help me every single time. And if everyone could be like that, and to say, okay, I don't know everything, because you don't. I still don't know everything. Chris, you don't know everything. And to say, okay, I ran into a situation that I really couldn't figure out, but I'm not going to blame it on the client. I'm going to blame it on me. Now, what could I have done differently in that situation? And that's when you start leveling up after sitting with thousands and thousands of people. Right?
Yeah. Dude, there was a switch though. There was something that happened. I want you to share. you had the privilege of surrounding yourself because of your location with two of the best in our industry. Zach Twardowski, who, if you guys don't know, is a multiple Hall of Fame producer, multiple year Hall of Fame producer, and now Integrity's youngest managing partner ever in their history, a giant company. And he's 26 now. But when he started in this, I believe he was 23 years old. But you had the honor of working with them and Easton Patton. Tell us about like what the wisdom that they imparted and what true work ethic looked like.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I am super grateful that I lived in Denver when I started. I'll be honest with that. But also at the same time, like me being in Denver had nothing to do with it. It was me going into the office, right?
Yeah.
Would have been in an office, I would have been at home. I would have maybe got right. But me going into an office allowed myself to surround myself with just people that are hungry, right? People that are going to bust down the walls that are in front of them without complaining, right? And trust me, I think Zach mentioned to somebody who like punched a hole in the wall from frustration, right? Because we all go through it. And now look at him; he's an integrity partner. But what it did was it installed like accountability, right? Because Easton and Zach would be helping 15, 20 families a week, just absolutely crushing it, and staying at the office until 8, 9 o'clock and then at night until they got the job done, right? And then for me, just the way I am, is like, dude, well, I have half the amount of appointments that they do. Why am I leaving? I would actually feel like awkward if I left the office at like 2 p.m. because I knew that they knew that I wasn't done, right? But also being able to kind of bounce ideas off each other's heads, right? Just surrounding yourself with people that are in the same boat as you is extremely empowering. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It can be very lonely, right? And what that does is you see that other people are having success and what they are doing to have that success. And then, for me knowing that I can't just do half of what they're doing and have the same success. So I wanted to match their work ethic, basically. And it kind of goes back into the call. Like I am here today, I think truly because of that office and Zach and Easton.
Yeah. And, and the cool thing is now, I said this the other day, I made a post on Facebook because it kind of hit me like an epiphany. We started doing live dials again with our team. And I noticed how much more it motivated me to be around people like Ken Jocelyn, who's on here, who works his butt off, Jonah Lewis, and these real, like, Ken's going to be Hall of Fame this year. Jonah's Hall of Fame. But to see the work ethic really, and just be part of a team that's actually working, because I think if you're dialing from home, some people are hours and hours away from an office. We have a big country. Not everybody can get to an office. If you can get to a local office, get to a local office. But if you can't, get on live dials. Talk to your manager about where the nearest live dials is. I am absolutely convinced that this is the missing ingredient to your success, because it gets you with like-minded people all on the same mission of helping families. And if you're on live dials with people that are chatting and not working, get off and get on another live dial. This is your business, guys. Like, be very, very intentional about this. There's a poster up here, and I'm in the Boca corporate office with Sean Mike, and it says, I can't stand lazy people. It's Kobe Bryant. I can't stand lazy people. I can't relate to it. I think, a lot of times it's easy to, if you have other people around you that are not working, to not work. And we all know this saying, like, surround yourself with people that are going to up level you. All right. So you got to be around Zach and Easton. We get to, on live dials, be around Hall of Fame producers, and there are so many. You can ask your manager, get on them. You can, if you want to get better, unmute and let top producers hear you dial and ask for some constructive criticism. And this is the difference between failing, losing the money that you put into this, and having a fulfilling career And whatever that is to you, could be a Hall of Fame producer. It could simply be, just being happy with where you're at. And that's completely and entirely up to you. And we get to make that choice. So yeah, thanks for bringing that point up.
Yeah, it's all about culture. I mean, the culture after 2.5 years, even though we moved offices, look where I'm at. You can't really see much. There's a lamp. I'm in an office right now, right? I'm not at home. I'm not sitting on my bed. But the culture is, you come here to work. You don't really see a whole lot of people just slacking off, right? And it's been like that for the last 2.5 years in this office. And that's why, I mean, to be quite honest with you, almost every single person in this office is crushing it.
Yes.
Right. And the touch on the live dial part is, I think a lot of people get anxious or they get embarrassed to get on live dials because they think that people are judging them. Well, I'll be the first to say that, like, you get on our live dials and somebody's making fun of you, he's not allowed on. She's not allowed on. Those people aren't allowed on, because we're trying to build as a team. We're trying to get better as a team together. Right. And it's not easy to put yourself out there. But once you start putting yourself out there, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Just like the first dial, the first person I got on the phone when I booked them or tried to book an appointment, I hung up on them because I didn't know what to say. They're like, "Hello," I was like, and I hung up on them. And then the second person, I was like, "Okay, I booked an appointment," right? And it just gets easier and easier and easier and more comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can send your recordings to us too, and we'll critique them. And this is one of the things I mentioned, like Jonah Lewis did that. He's 22 years old now. He was 21. Maybe he might have been 20 actually when he was sending me those at the end of 2020, October of 2020. I still have the text messages from him, and they were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. We laugh about it now, but you know what he did? He was open to constructive advice on how to get better, changing tonality, changing this a little bit, not pausing too long, just all these little things from, myself, from John Lama, another Hall of Fame producer, and he never gave up. That's the thing. He kept sending, and it got better and better.
So not to go off topic, the first time I saw Jonah this past weekend, I was like, dude, the last time I saw you was at convention last year. I was like, you weren't really in a great spot, right? He was like, he was not. And, he's like, yeah, it's crazy how far I've come because I just never gave up. And then all of a sudden he came out and just crushed it. Like he was on the verge of quitting, I'm pretty sure. Right. And then 2021 hit and he just, 17th in the company.
Here's the thing. Okay. Zach Twardowski, how many appointments did he run a week?
35.
And when he came out of the field, it was October and he had already protected 700 families. In October, he came out of the field because he was like, he had a big team and he was putting his resources in other areas. How many Easton Patton, how many appointments a week?
35, 40.
35, 40. And I know there are times where he did over 40. Jonah Lewis is the same thing, dude. And then Ken learns, who's on this call right now. I can't see everybody who's on here because I'm not scrolling through, but I see Ken on here on my screen. Ken learned from Jonah by being on live dials and seeing Jonah dialing all day and booking 20 appointments for his next 2 dial days. How about that? And now he protected 40 families last week, 10 families a week, and that's such a key, dude. Get around people that are doing exactly what you want and just go to work. So that's it. I want to keep this around, this time frame because we still have plenty of dial day left. It's Monday. It's on Eastern time here. It's 5:35, dude. I got 3-4 hours of dial time left. And I know like I stopped maybe around 9:30. I know some people dial till like 9:45, but man, we're coming up on one of my favorite times to dial from 5:30, 6 o'clock PM on. People are not getting inundated by telemarketing calls. They pick up the phone. They're not at work. So you call them and you can book. I would leave the office because I have a bunch of kids, 4 kids. So I'd have to get home at some point and I would stay in my driveway and just keep dialing. And I would book 5-6 more appointments at nighttime. You guys can all do that too. So thank you so much for hopping on, everybody. I hope this was helpful to you. And we'll see you next week, same time. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Thanks,
Thanks
Clint.
for having me.
Appreciate you, man.